Good afternoon, everybody. This is Mental Health Talk with yours truly. I am Christina McIntyre. I hope that y'all had the best week that y'all could have, and know that just because you didn't accomplish what you did in the previous week, there's always right now. So if you need to do something, get up and do it right now. First, give a shout out to my sponsor, Flawless Tires. You can find them at 1195 Chester Pike and Eddystone. Make sure you go hit them up for all your car needs. So this week, I'm doing a little something different. I'm going to be talking about mental health, but I wanted to share with you guys my experience dealing with mental health on a daily basis. Mental health is a real thing. It affects 1 in 5 people every year. For me, my journey began when I was like in my mid 20s. I didn't know what panic and anxiety was until after some time. I was going in and out the hospital all the time, having chest pains, freaking out, not knowing what was going on with me. And it wasn't until I did my own research that I kind of figured out what was going on. And it's a scary feeling. Having panic and anxiety all the time, it makes you feel like you're about to die, right? It resembles a heart attack, and definitely will send you in the hospital a lot of the times. And I have so many hospital bills to prove it. So after a while, I just had to pay attention to what was going on around me. Like, panic is worrying about the happening in the now, and anxiety comes from thinking way too far in the future. Trying to find balance in between those can be difficult, especially if you're a person that worries a lot about a lot of different things. And I am an excessive worrier. I'm working on that every day. It's getting better. But panic and anxiety still presents itself in my life. I deal with it on a daily basis. Some days I can go without having one, but for the most part, they come. I can do everything that I'm supposed to do right, and it's still there. And so I had to take this journey for myself to figure out when I'm having it in a moment, just to breathe and to kind of come back to myself. A lot of times, I go through a checklist to see um, what is going on in my life at that moment, to figure out if I can try to figure out what's going on with myself. And so I have a strict routine. I get up every morning, I meditate, I exercise, I read, I try to eat right, and for now, I do some breathing, some deep breathing exercises, vibrations, and stuff like that. And if any one of those is thrown off, then it definitely will trigger my panic and anxiety. Like over the weekend, I decided that I wanted to have a couple drinks. And so for someone that suffers from panic and anxiety, you really shouldn't drink like that. But depending on the drinks that you have can trigger it. We're not supposed to have too much sugar. Sugar can trigger panic and anxiety because liquor turn or liquor turns into excess sugar after a while when it breaks down in your body. I decided to take a chance, and so I have to deal with the aftermath of it. That's one thing. Caffeine. I used to drink iced lattes every day, sometimes twice a day, and I found myself driving a lot of times, and I would go into a bad panic and anxiety attack, and I had to eliminate that from my diet. Yes, it's tough. Every time I go by Wawa or Dunkin' Donuts and people are getting iced lattes, and I'm sitting there like, wow, I can't have that. I can't have certain foods. That's a trigger. So it becomes difficult to kind of live everyday life because you have to find a pattern that works for you. Trying to eliminate things all at once can be difficult. So I urge you, if you do suffer from panic and anxiety, to try to eliminate things one by one. That way, it doesn't send your body into shock. Um, when I first went to therapy for my panic and anxiety, it was about 3 years ago, because I couldn't deal with it no more. It was taking control over my life. I didn't go to too many places because my panic and anxiety made me fearful of being out in public, fearful of people, and so I isolated myself. I only did things that were a family function and not reach out to anyone else. So I decided to go to therapy, and we developed a plan for me to dig deep into what I needed to do for myself to heal myself. I don't take medication for my panic and anxiety. I kind of found a holistic approach. I speak about the chakra healing system. I tried therapy for a little bit. It worked for a little bit, but then I needed something more. But um, going to therapy was an introduction into how I discovered about the chakras and healing internally, to figure out how can I balance myself so that my panic and my anxiety can be handled a little differently. And so, what chakras are, a brief explanation, is they're energies in your body. We have seven main ones, and when they are out of balance, they can create mental health illnesses. They can create physical illnesses and stuff. And so, you must do things to keep them in balance. And there's a lot of different things that you can do. So, depending on where the pain is at in my body, I will do a meditation and do things that is catered to them. And so, for panic and anxiety, that means your heart and your root chakra is out of balance. Your root is your first chakra. It's located at the base of your navel. You have a lot of issues with your legs and stuff, and I do from time to time. So for that, I will have to do some grounding, which means spending time outside, get in touch with myself. Heart chakra is related, to your heart. It's about love and love for others and love for self. And so when I'm having a lot of panic and anxiety, I know what I need to do. Maybe I need to spend more time with loved ones. Maybe I need to focus on self care. And so you have to figure out definitely what's going on with you and what works for you, right? This process works for me. Yes, it's hard because every day I have to get up and I have to stick to this routine, and if I don't, then something gets thrown off and then I can go into a frenzy. Luckily I haven't had too many severe panic attacks lately, but it can be difficult and it can be overwhelming, and I do have moments where I sit there and I cry because it's like, why me? And then it never really lasts for a long time. I believe that my mental illness kind of pushed me to get what I want out of life, right? It's pushed me to know that I can still have this and live the life that I want. And I'm proof of that. I'm proof that you can still um, be able to live and live with mental health issues. It shouldn't stop you from getting what you want. Now, you may have to do things differently. Like for me, if I'm having a panic and anxiety attack, it may take me a little longer to get to where I need to. So I get up extra early every morning to give myself time just in case anything happens. Or I'll call ahead and be like, hey, I'm running late. And I never really give an explanation of why. Just have to deal with it when I deal with it in my moment. I have let people know that's around me, this is what I'm going through, because people didn't understand before. That's why it's important to let people know what you're going through. So they don't think that you're doing it intentionally, right? So I had to let my family, like, look, I'm dealing with this. Like, it used to take me 2 hours sometimes to come to a place, because I was having severe panic and anxiety, and people used to get upset, not knowing that I had to just get myself together so I could, bring myself back to some type of normalcy. And so dealing with that is not easy. But I believe, we can have anxiety from being extra excited. When I'm overwhelmed and I'm excited and I'm happy, I do have panic and anxiety from that. And that can be a good thing, but also for your body, it feels overwhelming. So again, you have to learn how to balance, and that's what I think. Having mental health issues is that you just have to have balance in your life, and knowing that it's okay to have good days, it's okay to have bad days, but just make sure those bad days don't get so doesn't take up too much of your time, right? And what I do is I sit and I reflect in it. Whenever I'm having um, an attack, I sit and I reflect and I ask myself questions like, what's going on? What can I do to make this better? And sometimes it's elimination, right? Eliminating like food from my diet, eliminating stressors from my life, eliminating people from my life. I believe that sometimes people can trigger, certain things. For me, I feel like everything. I'm focused on internal, and so I can feel when I'm around certain people, they trigger my panic anxiety. Their energy affects my energy. So what I have to do is just remove myself from the situation. So pay attention to what's going on around you and inside of you, what you're putting inside of you as well. It can affect how you feel. So that's just one portion. I have depression as well. This started, I think, I've had it all my life. I can remember as far back as when I was 12. I was a I wrote a suicide note. I never did anything, but I was in a deep depression. I was like, well, not severely overweight, but I was overweight as a kid, and people used to make fun of me, and I know I didn't have many friends, and it caused a lot of issues. And so over the years, it would get better, and then it would get worse. It would get better, and then a few years ago, I found myself. I used to just come home from work. I would cook dinner because I had my son, and I wouldn't be involved in anything. I would just sit on the couch until it was time to go to bed, and I would do that. I would go to work because I had no choice. I got to pay bills, but it became routine, and I used to cry, and I'm like, I can't do this no more. I have to do something different. Like, I got a son to raise. I have a life that I need to live, and I had to face myself, and I said I need help, and it's okay to reach out for help. It's okay to have these feelings. It's okay to feel like you don't want to live anymore, because that's how I was feeling. I was thinking like maybe the world would be better without me in it. Luckily, I decided to get the help that I need before it ever got to that point. I don't want people to ever, to feel like suicide is an answer, but I understand why. They just want the pain to stop, and um, it's hard when everything is inside your head. You look fine on the outside, but these voices in your head telling you that you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough of this and that, and then after a while it overtakes you, and then some people swallow pills to commit suicide, drink excessively, jump off bridges and stuff like that, and it's sad, but it's definitely understandable. That's why you got to know yourself, and if you're around people that you see some of these signs, it's okay to reach out. I think you can call 911 if you feel like somebody is a harm to themselves or other, and get them the help that they need. Sometimes people write suicide notes or talk about things like that because they're reaching help for help and they feel alone, and that's what depression does. It make you feel like you're alone even when you're not. It's just something inside your head that's off. That's why I definitely believe in the foods that we eat kind of triggers our mental health issues as well. A lot of extra sugar, they add a lot of ingredients in there that's not good for us. So what I did, again, I went to therapy. I tried to change my life, right? I tried to do more positive things. I started listening to more positive um, music, and surround myself with positive things. And just each day, just do a little bit more. Every day is not going to be perfect, but you can do more things each day that can bring you happiness. And it's a journey. I've been okay so far. I haven't had a depressive episode in some months now, And the last one I did, I just felt like I was going crazy, and I just wanted to just get out of here, right? And that's the thing, like you can't run from your problems. They always going to be there. You can move to a different state and surround yourself with different people, but you have to deal with what's going on in the inside. And depression can come, it can be hereditary, it can come from trauma. It could just be a chemical imbalance in your brain. And so you have to figure out what's going on with you and knowing that it's okay and that there's help if you need it, but you have to be willing to say that I need help. People will people will walk with you on this journey, but they can't take that first step. You have to be the one um, to you have to be the one to take the first step in order for you to get the help that you need. You have to fight for your healing process, and it definitely is a journey, but it's a journey that you need to take so that you can live your life to the best that you can. I'm gonna talk a little bit about OCD. I have OCD as well. So OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder. This is not as severe as it used to be. I used to drive myself crazy, and then I kind of slowed down a little bit because I started to notice that my son was picking up on some of my OCD behaviors. And what OCD was doing, like I would get out the car and I would just check it like probably 6 or 7 times, making sure the door was locked. And I saw my son was doing the same thing, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta stop. I mean, I still have a little bit of it. Like when I leave my house, I probably check my stove about 5 times to make sure that I turned it off, even though I know I turned it off. But I have to just make sure. I was all the way to the car like a couple weeks ago, thinking that the stove was still on, and it wasn't. But I had to go all the way back up there to check just to make sure. OCD can drive you crazy, and dealing with somebody with OCD, they can be you can drive them crazy as well, because it's a thing like everything has to have its own unique um, arrangement, right? Like I like to be organized, but it's my own way of organization. And if I find something out of place, it can drive me crazy. Like I have to have my blanket a certain way. I have to have things in my home a certain way. And so if someone comes in and kind of messes that up, it can drive me crazy. I mean, luckily now I could kind of let things go a little bit, especially as I became a mom. When I first became a mom, it was really bad. I used to organize my son's toys as soon as as soon as he put him on the floor, and then after a while, I'm like, yo, I'm really driving myself crazy, and so you have to figure out a way to kind of hone in on that. Like it's definitely better than what it used to be, but I still have it a little bit. And my a lot of my mental illness comes from hereditary. My mom's side of the family suffers from mental health illness immensely, right? And it was through conversation that I found this out, and it gives you some kind of comfort to know how you can navigate about your healing process. You know, just because it is hereditary doesn't mean that you can't do anything about it. There's definitely ways that you can heal. There's definitely ways that you can get some help. There is medication, there is therapy, there is, a lot of people use God and church as that. I use the holistic approach. And so if you find yourself with some of these symptoms and have these issues, you just reach out to people, have conversations with people. There are plenty of groups on Facebook, Instagram, um, and if you feel like you can't reach out to those that's close to you, because a lot of people don't understand people that have mental health issues. They look at us and be like, oh, you look fine, but they have no idea the war that we are battling with in our own heads, and we want it to stop. It's not like we ask for, oh yeah, I want depression or I want OCD or panic and anxiety. We want it to get taken away. It's something that we deal with on a daily basis. So definitely be kind to those that you know that are suffering. We are trying each and every day to be the best that we can, and some days we just ask that you be patient with us because we definitely are trying to, make sure those around of us are affected by our behavior. And also those that are suffering, we have to control ourselves at the end of the day. It's up to us to get control of it. And it's hard, right? You have to fight for yourself every day. It's not just like when you feel like it. you have to make sure when you get up and when you go to bed that you create a life for yourself that's not going to add any more stress to the issues that you already have. And that's why I said sometimes you have to change your whole routine, change your life, change the environment you around, change the people you around, change how you go about handling and doing things. I used to allow stress to really affect me in a way that it will overtake me, negative thinking, negative talking. So having a change in the mindset can affect your behavior as well. I believe that the body, our cells in our body, they respond to our speaking and our thinking. So you have to kind of channel that energy, right, and speak life. You're basically speaking new life into yourself. It does feel weird in the beginning when you're trying to change a routine that you were so used to, right? It almost seems foreign, like it's not who you are, but it is. It's just a better version of yourself. And I think sometimes we're so caught into who we used to be that we can't see who we can become. And that's what, for me, having these mental health issues, it kind of pushed me into becoming a better version of myself. Not saying that I don't kind of miss who I used to be, but I don't want to live in that body anymore, right? That whole mindset, because that person didn't enjoy life. That person just sat and just let life pass her by and not go out and get these things that I want and need. And having a change in the mindset kind of pushed me to go after all those things that I need. And it definitely will affect you as well. You just got to be willing to say, hey, I had enough of this, and now I'm going to decide for myself what I'm going to do with my life. And then I just wanted to talk briefly about one more thing. PTSD, I have that as well. My PTSD came from being in two abusive relationships, right? PTSD can come from a lot of different things. You hear of it more so people in the military, they come home and they suffer, but also PTSD can come from abuse. And yeah, it is definitely not something to be played with. It definitely is something that you need to go get help with. After I got out of those relationships that I were in, one was right after the other, so it didn't really give me time to heal in between. And so when I got out the last one, it definitely, I had to really sit back and reflect. I took some time for myself before I even engaged in anything else with anybody, because I knew I needed to heal, right? And a lot of the things that I dealt with in that relationship, it was mostly physical, but it was also mental abuse as well. And it was definitely triggers, and I had to work on them triggers. And still to this day, I'm much better than I used to be. But there are still triggers that I won't know until it happens, and then I have to deal with it in a moment. I used to jump when anyone would come near me after that relationship ended, because I felt like someone was trying to attack me. And the long term effects of being in that type of relationship can harm you, but only if you allow it to. And what I learned out of from coming out of that relationship, that it happened, right? It wasn't my fault that this situation happened, but how long am I going to keep letting it be a burden in my life? And that was what I needed to do to heal myself. And so definitely so much better than what I used to be. I'm still working on getting that whole mental part of it right. So when you're in that type of situation, the mental part is the hardest part to break from. You forget how to trust people. You isolate yourself in a way. Um, you don't feel worthy, right? You don't feel valuable, and so you have to kind of build yourself up. So I had to learn how to rebuild myself, and it definitely. I'm not saying that it was a bad relationship, but the experience of it, right? I learned a lot about myself by being in that situation. So I kind of um, put my thought process in a different way. Instead of looking at all the bad that it was, I looked at it, the outcome of it. Thank God it ended, because now I was able to become who I needed to be for myself and for everyone else. But it wasn't until I got out of it that I had to learn how to heal all over again. I had to become who I was meant to be. You know, when you're in that type of situation, you kind of hide who you are just to make everything kind of okay, right? You walk on eggshells so that you don't trigger this other person. it was a whole mess. But I'm definitely thankful that I got out of it. Thankful that I healed as much as I needed to, so that I don't put all of that onto someone else. And if you're in an abusive relationship or any situation and you suffer from PTSD, go get help. Right? There's help that you need. And if you're in an abusive situation where you're fighting for your life, please leave, because the end result of that can be death. And it's sad that people don't understand the severity of being in an abusive relationship. It only takes one time for that person to kind of put their hands around your neck and snap it, and then you won't be here no more. And it's sad for those people that we have to leave behind. Luckily, the last straw for me was enough. I had to, like, unfortunately, my son was at that moment when I had enough, and I just looked at him. I'm like, I can't do this no more. I am raising a little boy, and I don't want him to think that that's okay how you treat someone. And that was enough for me. But luckily, I got out of it when I did, because it was a couple times that I didn't think that I was going to make it. And so healing from all of that definitely has been a journey, but it was worth it to me, right? I got to figure out who I was through all of the hurt and the pain. And through any mental health issues that you have or illnesses that you have, I want you to know that you can get through all the pain and come out on the other side. Like, your life can be whatever you want it to be. Things have happened. You know, I don't know everybody's story, but just because something has happened to you, that doesn't mean that it has to continue to happen to you. You get to choose at any moment how you want your life to be. And you have to take your life back. We can't allow mental health illnesses control us like anymore. If you want to live a certain way, go out and do it. Do baby steps towards any goal that you have. Do baby steps towards anything that you want. It can be done. You have to fight yourself, right? Fight past them fears. Fight past the them insecurities that you may feel. Do things that motivate you. Do things that uplift you, right? Sometimes you look at yourself in the mirror. I practice this sometimes when I'm feeling down, and you tell yourself positive affirmations like, I am, but I am worthy, I am valuable, I am like, you can say I'm the shit. Like, you can do whatever you need to do to fill yourself up, and that's where mental health can kind of take us, right? It pulls us down. It makes us feel like we're not good enough, but we are. We all are here for a reason, and we matter. We all got purpose, right? We have each one of us has a unique gift, and what mental health issues do is that it kind of blocks your gift from being given and shining. And so definitely fight for yourself. You are worth the fight, and you got to know that you're worth the fight each and every day. And yes, it gets tiring. Every day I'm tired. It's a battle, right? And part of me, part of you always want to give up. Like, you want to give up, but it's so much more. Like, when you practice gratitude, right? For the last couple of weeks, I've been learning a little bit about gratitude and appreciating every moment that I have, making use of the time that I have. Wake up every morning being grateful for even just waking up, and going to bed being grateful that I have a bed to rest in and that I have a roof over my head. When you start appreciating everything that you have, them issues don't seem as severe, right? Like, you get up every day, like, you can get up. If I can get up, then I can fight this day, right? And it's a challenge, but be consistent in your healing efforts as well. Whatever route you choose to battle with your mental health, be consistent. And if you're going to go to therapy, don't just go once a month and thinking that's going to solve your issues. No, you got to be consistent. If you need to go 2 or 3 times a week until it gets alleviated, some do that, right? If you need to pray consistently. Make sure that you're fighting for yourself, not expecting other people to fight for you. They will fight for you, but you have to be willing to fight for yourself. And also the holistic approach. And if you're interested in discussing that anymore, you can always inbox me, Christina McIntyre, on Facebook. I am willing to share my journey and my experience with that as well. The holistic approach is no different than any other approach. It takes time and commitment, but with this approach, it forces you to dig deep and figure out what's going on the inside that's causing all these issues. And yeah, you're going to go through periods where you're angry and you're upset, you feel sad, you want to cry. That's okay, let it all out. You got paper, you can write it down. I sing, I hum, I meditate, I pray. I do all these things so that I can have some peace in my life. And that's what I want for you, is to have peace for your life. And so I want to appreciate each and every one of y'all for tuning in and listening. Make sure you tune in every Sunday at 12 p.m. on cmpradio.net on Facebook. Also, download the Live 365 app. Search cmpradio.net to listen Sundays at 12 p.m., Wednesdays and Fridays at 2 p.m. Remember that you matter and that you are worthy and that you deserve to be here, and that whatever you choose to do with your life, choose to live. Until next time, everybody.